So if you're against animal cruelty, you need to go vegan. What are you waiting for? Why are you not vegan? Is it because you're for animal abuse? You like the fact that animals have their heads severed for every single non-vegan product you consume? Do you really think that animals deserve to have their heads chopped off? Because that's what's happening to animals for every single non-vegan product you consume. An animal is being decapitated. They are stabbed in their throats to sever their jugular vein, or they have their throats slashed to sever their jugular vein to bleed them out before they butcher them. Yes, and they have their heads severed. So they're stabbed in the throat and then they have their heads severed. And this is happening for every single non-vegan product you consume. So for like every breakfast, every lunch, every dinner, every dessert that is not vegan, yeah, even for eggs, even for dairy products, you are having animals stabbed in their throat or their throat slashed to sever their jugular vein. In the egg industry, at the hatcheries where all egg-laying hens come from, they cannot determine the sex of the chicks until they hatch. So upon hatching, they sort the males, like they did here. This is a male chick that just hatched, that is being dumped into a macerator. See these blades right here? Those are blades right there. This is the second before this little male chick is dumped into this macerator and ground up alive. It is standard practice in the egg industry around the globe. Now, at some facilities, they might gas the chicks or throw them in the trash where they suffocate or starve to death. But it's pretty typical that most of these hatcheries have grinding machines which grind them up alive. And the egg-laying hens themselves are sent to slaughter when they can no longer produce enough eggs to be profitable. That happens at about 1.5 years of age, when these birds can actually live over 7 years. The egg-laying hens are forced to produce 10 times more eggs than is natural. So that puts an enormous amount of stress on their bodies, causing all kinds of health issues. So by the time they're just 1.5 years of age, they can no longer keep up with that kind of egg production. And then they are no longer profitable to the egg farmers. So they are sent to slaughter. They have their throats slashed, their heads severed. And for dairy products, yeah, in case you don't know, dairy cows do not produce milk because they are dairy cows. They produce milk because they are mothers. They are forcibly impregnated. As soon as they give birth, their babies are taken from them. On some dairy farms, they will kill the male calves right away because they have no use for the male calves. But typically what they do is they sell the male calves to the veal industry, where they're raised for a few weeks and then sent to slaughter. So you can have their baby food in the form of artery clogging, carcinogenic crap. And the dairy cows themselves are sent to slaughter when they can no longer produce enough milk to be profitable. That typically happens at about 5 years of age, when they can live over 20 years. The dairy cows are forced to produce about 10 times more milk than is natural. So that puts an enormous amount of stress on their body. So by the time they're just about 5 years of age, their bodies can no longer keep up with that kind of milk production. So they are no longer profitable. So the farmers send them off to the slaughterhouse. And this person asked me, do I support PETA? Not financially. Not financially, no. I don't support any non-vegans. Yeah, as long as Ingrid Newkirk thinks it's okay to execute shelter cats and shelter dogs, she's not vegan, and I'm not giving her any of my money, okay? Yeah, let's just keep that clear. I know PETA's done a lot of good work. You know, obviously they've gotten hundreds of millions, or I should say hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people to go vegan. You know, so they're doing a lot of good for animals, but they are also, as far as I know, you know, at least the founder, Ingrid Newkirk, last I heard, she thinks it's acceptable to execute, euthanize shelter cats and shelter dogs. From an article I read where she was interviewed, she stated herself that she thinks after 30 days, those cats and dogs, if they're not adopted, they should be euthanized. It's not euthanasia to kill a healthy animal. That's an execution. That's murder. That's not right. And the fact that PETA executes shelter cats and shelter dogs the last time, maybe they changed. I hope they've changed, but I don't think so. But that should make you want to be even vegan even more. The fact that an animal rights organization kills animals, that just proves how fucked animals have it. That even an animal rights organization kills animals. So that's more of a reason to go vegan, not less of a reason. You can't say, oh, well, look at what PETA does to those shelter cats and shelter dogs. So, yeah, well, if they can kill cats and dogs, I could eat meat, you know, because that's even worse. Killing a cat, killing a dog is worse than killing a cow. No, it's all bad. It's all bad. It's all wrong. It all needs to stop. It all needs to stop. The killing needs to stop. PETA brings in what, like $50 million a year? I think they can do a little bit better job at, you know, doing something about getting all of these animals sterilized. You know, not that I'm like so like pro, you know, fixing these cats and dogs, but yeah, I would say that's a more humane way of trying to control the overpopulation of the stray cats and stray dogs than to execute them. We don't even execute child molesters. We don't even execute rapists. Most murderers don't even get executed. That monster that shot up the Parkland school, killing 17 innocent kids, did not even receive the death sentence. But we have innocent cats and dogs, even puppies and kittens, at animal shelters being executed. Don't call it euthanasia. It's not euthanasia. Euthanasia is when it is in the best interest of that animal because the animal is suffering and dying, and there's nothing within reason that you can do to help them, but to put them out of their misery. That is what euthanasia is. Killing a healthy animal, you know, especially a young animal, puppy, a kitten, you know, that's an execution, and that's not right. Because again, we don't even execute rapists and murderers. Why the fuck are we executing innocent cats and dogs? Why are we executing pigs and cows and chickens? No one deserves a death sentence over your food preferences. But you literally sentence innocent creatures to death over your food preferences. All day, every day, for every single non-vegan product you consume. So it's really disturbing. You know, these people who are against the death penalty, like 25 states, I think it's about 25 states here in the United States, have abolished the death penalty. But every one of those fucking states have multiple slaughterhouses where they slaughter thousands, if not tens of thousands of innocent beings each and every day for nothing more than greed and gluttony. There's absolutely no need whatsoever for us to be eating the flesh or the secretions of animals. In fact, the more animal flesh and animal secretions you eat, the more risk you have of heart disease, kidney disease, diabetes, cancer, causing another pandemic. You know, not only would it be in the best interest of these animals for you to go vegan, for the world to go vegan, it would be in your best interest for you to go vegan, because a whole foods plant-based diet is the best diet for human health. And it can even significantly reduce the risk of heart disease and cancer, kidney disease, type 2 diabetes, some of the most common and most deadly diseases. And it would be in the best interest of our planet for the world to be vegan, because animal agriculture is the leading cause of deforestation, species extinction, water pollution, water depletion, ocean dead zones, ocean plastics, pandemics, world hunger, and climate change. Even researchers at Oxford University, look up Joseph Poor's study, Poore. Joseph Poore and other researchers at Oxford University did an extensive study of over 40,000 farms and concluded that animal agriculture is so environmentally destructive, going vegan, not becoming a vegetarian, not regenerative agriculture, but going vegan is the best way to save the planet. And that if the world went vegan, land totaling the size of Africa could be freed up, because that is how much land is needed to graze and grow food for all of these ceaseless tens of billions of animals that are needed to keep up with the demand for animal flesh and animal secretions. Like right at this very moment, there are tens of billions of animals being raised for their flesh and secretions. I believe it's like 20 billion chickens right now being raised for meat. I think it's like 3 billion pigs right at this very moment. Probably even more than that. I need to get some accurate figures. Thanks for that. About 1.5 billion heads of cattle being raised right now for their flesh. Not to mention the dairy cows, the goats, the ducks, turkeys, dogs and cats, and the countries where they eat dogs and cats. Yeah, so you need to go vegan. You need to go vegan right now. There's no excuse to not be vegan. And this person wants to know if I eat avocados. Well, I live in Florida. I grow my own avocados. But yeah, whatever your point is, somebody tagged me in this thing with Piers Morgan where he was asking some vegan activist if she eats avocados. And then she's like started to deflect from the question or whatever. I would have asked Piers Morgan, do you eat avocados? Do you eat avocados? Well, guess what? Slaughterhouses don't exist to produce avocados. Raising animals for their flesh and secretions are causing way more harm to our environment than avocados. Takes a lot more water resources because, these animals that are being raised for their flesh, they have to eat. Takes up to 16 pounds of grains to produce just 1 pound of beef. So yeah, takes a lot of water to produce the crops needed to feed all of these ceaseless tens of billions of animals to fatten them up for their flesh and secretions. And these animals need to drink water. One cow alone can drink like 20 to 30 gallons of water each day. And then these huge industrial sheds that house the turkeys by the thousands, that house the pigs by the thousands, that house the chickens by the thousands, the barns where the dairy cows are milked and are kept, those have to be cleaned. What do you think these sheds and barns are being cleaned with? Water? Now, over 50% of the fresh water usage is directed to the animal agriculture industry. Yeah, Arizona, suffering through a water crisis because the dairy industry in Saudi Arabia draining the water, the groundwater, draining the groundwater to grow alfalfa to ship over to Saudi Arabia to feed the dairy cows there. And these animals produce a lot of excrement. In the United States, every single minute of every single day, livestock produce roughly 7 million pounds of manure per minute, which is like 130 times more excrement than the entire U.S. population of humans produce each minute. Most of that excrement ends up in the rivers, which lead to the oceans, which lead to ocean dead zones. And these animals literally mutilated, forced to live in overcrowded, shit-filled dungeons, and then forced screaming into a slaughterhouse. Yeah, don't even fucking compare avocados to raising animals. And you can grow your own avocados, especially, you know me, I live in Florida. They grow here in Florida, so it's just ridiculous that you want to bring up avocados as like, oh, if you eat avocados, you're no better. Yeah, innocent creatures aren't being slaughtered over avocados. Innocent creatures are being slaughtered over your food preferences, though. And wild animals are also being slaughtered, like wild American horses, prairie dogs being slaughtered because they compete with livestock for grazing land. Wolves, cougars, bears, bobcats, coyotes, foxes are being slaughtered because they are a threat to livestock. We are in the midst of the 6th mass extinction because of non-vegans. Not because of people who eat avocados, which I'm sure a large percentage of non-vegans eat avocados. Yeah, it's not avocados destroying this planet. It's not avocados. That's the reason why slaughterhouses exist. Slaughterhouses exist to make beef, pork, chicken. Yeah, you're pretty cringy if you are here defending animal abuse. I'm here defending these victims. You're here defending the victimizers. I'm here defending the animals. You're here defending the animal abusers. Yeah, you're pretty cringy. The fact that you literally support an industry that sexually assaults animals, that's pretty cringy. Yeah, step 1 in producing animal products is they literally sexually stimulate male animals to force them to ejaculate. Maybe you didn't know that. Maybe you didn't know that yesterday, but now you know because I just told you. And if you think I'm talking crazy, that's because it is absolutely fucking crazy and fucking totally insane what they're doing to these animals to produce animal products. And you're literally funding this behavior. And maybe you didn't know that yesterday, but you know it now. Standard practice throughout the entire animal agriculture industry. They masturbate male animals. They sexually stimulate them until they ejaculate to collect their semen, to force it into the vaginas of unconsenting female animals, to force them to reproduce so that you can eat their babies. And in the case of dairy cows, to get those dairy cows pregnant so that they will start to lactate, because they have to be pregnant before they will start producing milk. If you were to force semen into a woman's vagina without her consent, I seriously doubt you would call that artificial insemination. That would be a crime, sexual assault. And it should be the same crime when committed against non-human animals. And you're literally funding it every time you consume a non-vegan product. And again, maybe you didn't know that yesterday, but you know that now. So going forward, if you continue to consume animal products, you are now knowingly funding bestiality and the sexual abuse of animals. Yes, because sexual relations between a human and an animal is in fact bestiality. Those farmers or those farm hands They're human. And they literally masturbate the male animals until they ejaculate. Sexual relations between a human and an animal is in fact bestiality. And that is what you are funding. That is what you are supporting every single time you choose to consume a non-vegan product. And they're even doing it in the egg industry. Yep. They have roosters that they collect semen from. It's very disturbing. Very disturbing. I mean, I was literally in tears watching this fucking freak literally masturbating a rooster to get him to ejaculate so she could collect his semen. So that semen can be forced into a hen to fertilize her eggs, so those eggs hatch into the egg-laying hens that lay the eggs on store shelves. And like I said, maybe you didn't know that yesterday, but you now know it. So going forward, if you continue to consume animal products, you are now a willing participant in bestiality and the sexual assault of animals. And I'm not even exaggerating. Let me show you something. Industry, put out by the pork industry, demonstrating how they collect semen from male pigs. This is a human. This is an animal. She has her hand on his penis and she's masturbating him until he ejaculates. Sexual relations between a human and an animal is in fact bestiality. Doesn't matter whether she's getting sexual gratification or not. The fact that she's sexually stimulating this animal, making him orgasm, that is sexual activity between a human and an animal, which is bestiality. And if you're a Christian, you need to look up what your Bible says about bestiality. It is a sin, a serious sin. And this is literally what you are supporting every single time you consume a non-vegan product. So this is another reason why you need to go vegan, and you need to go vegan right this moment. Because if you're not vegan, you're literally funding the sexual abuse of animals and bestiality. And again, I understand maybe yesterday you did not know this. You know it now. You know it now. And again, they're not doing this just to pigs. They're doing it to roosters. They're doing it to turkeys. They're doing this to cows, to dairy cows. They masturbate the bulls, force them to ejaculate, or they shove electro-ejaculators in their anus and force them to ejaculate that way, to collect their semen, to force it into the dairy cows, to get them pregnant so that they will start to lactate. They're doing this in the beef industry. They're even doing this to salmon. They're even doing this to bees in the honey industry. They even figured out how to make a male bee ejaculate. And people want to call me crazy. I'm not the one funding the sexual abuse of animals. They literally squeeze on the abdomens of the male bees until they ejaculate. And then they literally restrain the queen bees. And they have these little tools that open them up. And they force the semen into the queen bees to force them to reproduce. And it takes a bee their entire life to make just 1 teaspoon of honey. What the fuck right do humans have to steal that from them? And a lot of bees die when their hives are invaded by thieves, stealing their honey. A lot of them die in the process. Some bee farmers will destroy the whole colony of bees if they're not producing enough quality honey to be profitable. And they often will just kill the queen every year and replace her with a younger, more productive queen. They cut her wings off. Yeah. Honey is an awful, awful industry too. Based on sexually abusing insects. Yeah, sounds crazy because it is crazy. But that's what they're doing. And you need to know, as a consumer of animal products, you need to know how these animal products are truly produced so you can make educated choices. Yeah, see, I didn't know. When I first went vegan, I heard vegans talking about animals being sexually abused, and I'm like, didn't really register with me. I'm like, yeah, it sounds kind of weird. But then when you actually see what they're talking about, it's like, holy shit, this is fucked up. And it was only probably, about a year ago, maybe not even a year ago, when I'm like, wait a second. If they're sexually abusing pigs to force them to reproduce, and they're sexually abusing turkeys to reproduce, are they doing this to fish? I wonder. And I looked it up, and National Geographic has an episode where they're showing salmon, how they force the male salmon to ejaculate. But in the case of the female salmon, they don't force the semen into her to fertilize her eggs. What they do with the female salmon is they kill her, cut her open, steal her eggs, and take it back to the hatchery and fertilize those eggs there. And then I'm like, if they're doing this to bees, or if they're doing this to fish, I wonder if they're also doing this to bees. So I'm looking up artificial insemination of bees. And my God, all kinds of instructional videos on how to sexually abuse bees to force them to reproduce. Again, they call it artificial insemination in the industry. Standard practice throughout the entire animal agriculture industry. They call it artificial insemination, but it's not. It's absolutely not. These animals are not trying to reproduce, and they're having difficulty, and they're seeking the assistance of humans to help them. This is being done for the sinister purpose of forcing these animals to reproduce so they can exploit the offspring of these animals in some of the most awful ways imaginable. Killing them for their flesh, killing them for their baby food in the case of dairy products. Yeah, those dairy cows do not produce milk because they're dairy cows. Those dairy cows produce milk because they're mothers. They're forcibly impregnated, sexually assaulted. As soon as they give birth, their babies are stolen. This is standard conditions these calves are forced to live in. Tiny little pens where they can barely move. Isolated from their mothers. These are babies. They should be with their mothers, not in tiny little pens by themselves, out there in a blizzard. Yeah, because most of these calves are kept outdoors. So yeah, if they're up north and a blizzard comes through, they're out there in a blizzard. If they're here in Florida and a hurricane comes through, they're out there in a fucking hurricane. Just like Hurricane Ian. On one dairy farm alone in Florida, and there's hundreds of dairy farms. On one dairy farm alone in Florida, over 250 dairy cows died during Hurricane Ian. These farmers cannot provide these animals adequate shelter, even if they wanted to, because of the number of animals they're exploiting. These farms are exploiting thousands. Most of them are exploiting thousands and thousands of animals at any given time. There's no way, even if they wanted to, that they could round up all of these thousands of animals and provide them adequate shelter during a blizzard or during a hurricane. Yeah, plants are alive too. It's another reason to go vegan. because more plants are killed to feed the animals that you eat. It takes up to 16 pounds of crops to get just 1 pound of beef in return. As much as 6 pounds of crops to produce just 1 pound of poultry. And animal agriculture is the leading cause of deforestation. So think about what that means for plants. As an acre of land is cleared each second, and it is mainly to graze and grow food for livestock. So yeah, if you're truly concerned about plants, you absolutely need to go vegan. And not only should you go vegan, you should become a fruitarian, because no plants are harmed for fruits, nuts, or seeds. Yeah, it's not a joke. It's not a joke. Are you saying that you would work on a farm masturbating male animals all day long? Collecting their semen? That's pretty disturbing if you would. But regardless, you're literally paying people to masturbate male animals. Because it is standard practice. It is standard practice throughout the entire animal agriculture industry. No, it's not funny. It's evil, it's disgusting, and it should be a crime. It should be a crime. Animal agriculture needs to be banned. Needs to be criminalized. Because if the same things happening to these animals to produce animal products were happening to humans, they would in fact be crimes of rape, kidnapping, theft, and murder. And this right here is just a glimpse of the amount of harm you could very easily be causing in just one day alone to animals. By not being vegan. Male chicks ground up at the hatcheries where all egg-laying hens come from. Male calves being killed, all of the calves being taken off of those dairy cows, put in pens, isolated from their mothers. But if these are boys, they're sent to slaughter within weeks of being born so you can have their baby food. Standard practice for pigs to be confined in gestation crates for months where they can barely move. And then when they give birth, they're moved to farrowing crates like this here, this image on the left middle of the screen. And if you can see, these little pigs don't have any tails. That's because they cut their tails off. They clip their teeth, they clip their ears, they castrate the males, all of this without any pain relievers. And then they force them to live in an overcrowded, shit-filled dungeon in such filth, they have to be given antibiotics to keep them from getting sick. And these animals don't want to die for your food preferences. Yeah, why don't you go work in a slaughterhouse yourself if you see nothing wrong with killing animals for food? You should have to work in a slaughterhouse killing these animals yourself, looking these animals in their eyes. You see how they're terrified. They don't want to die. You make them die for your food preferences when you could so easily be vegan and actually be much healthier for it. You'd be helping to save the planet in the process. Literally makes no sense to not be vegan unless you are an animal abuser. And it's not just the cows and the pigs and the chickens and the fish who are intentionally being killed for your food preferences. It's also wild animals who are being killed for your food preferences. Like wild American horses. They're rounded up by the thousands every single year. The government rounds up thousands and thousands of wild American horses every year on behalf of the animal agriculture industry. They use our tax dollars for this atrocity so that cattle ranchers can maximize their profits. This should not be happening. This should not be happening at all. But yeah, so you're not just the reason why cows and pigs and chickens and fish are being massacred. You're also the reason why wild American horses, prairie dogs, sea lions, Wolves, cougars, bears, bobcats, coyotes are being massacred. And then all the marine animals who are intentionally killed. And then all the marine animals who are killed as bycatch because they get tangled up in these fishing nets that are dropped to catch the fish that are sold as seafood. And in the ghost fishing gear left behind from the commercial fishing industry. 50% of the ocean plastics come from ghost fishing gear from the commercial fishing industry. So yeah, don't cry about the plastics in the oceans if you're not vegan. If you're consuming seafood, you're the reason why the oceans are filled with plastics. So I don't know why people are fighting against veganism. Literally makes no sense. Makes no sense. Now, I would say that you need help. You need help realizing that what you're doing is wrong and you need to stop. There's no reason for this whatsoever. There's no reason for this. You're literally hurting animals in some pretty horrific ways just so you can feast on their flesh and give yourself cancer and heart disease. No, I think you're the one who's angry. You're the one on my live stream. You're the one on my live stream. I'm not on your live stream. You're on my live stream. I think you're the one who's angry. Yeah, cancer. Even from the American Institute for Cancer Research, the more meat you eat, the more risk you have of many forms of cancer, especially colon cancer. Yeah, well, I did not go vegan because I didn't like eating pork chops and filet mignon and bacon and cheese. I went vegan because I saw how those products were being produced, and I could clearly see it involved victimizing innocent creatures. And no, I don't want to be a victimizer, and I don't want to pay anybody to victimize anyone on my behalf. So I realized that I had to be vegan. And when I first went vegan, I had been so brainwashed into thinking that I had to consume animal flesh and animal secretions to be healthy, that I actually thought when I first went vegan that I might not be able to stick with it because I thought that I might not be able to maintain my health. And I was like, if my health starts to deteriorate, I might have to go back to eating some animal products again because I'm not going to let my health deteriorate. But within 3 months, seriously, within like 3 months of going vegan, my health significantly improved. I have endometriosis and used to be in pain like 12 days out of every single month for years. The pain had gotten so bad, pain relievers didn't even help anymore because I became like immune to them because I was taking them all the time. And I didn't want to take, 4 leaves, because I was reading it on the package that could like cause heart problems. So, I'm like, well, it really wouldn't be a good thing for me to, just up the amount of pills I'm taking. So I was to the point where I literally, the only way to get relief from the endometriosis pain was to take a hot shower. I was sometimes taking, it seemed like a dozen showers a day to give myself some relief from the pain. But within 3 months of eliminating animal products from my diet, the pain completely went away. And I had been so brainwashed into thinking we had to eat animal products to be healthy that at first it never registered with me that, wait a second, the pain completely went away because I stopped eating animal flesh and animal secretions. At first I didn't realize it. It was only later that I realized, I learned about how acidic and how inflammatory animal products are. So yeah, it's interesting that when I removed those very acidic and very inflammatory foods from my diet, the inflammation went away, the pain went away. A lot of people see health benefits when they go vegan. Watch What the Health, or The Game Changers, or Eating You Alive, or The Last Heart Attack with Dr. Sanjay Gupta. From the American Institute for Cancer Research, the National Kidney Foundation, the American Heart Association, a plant-based diet significantly reduces the risk of heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, kidney disease. If you have any of those health conditions, the plant-based diet can help treat them. From the National Kidney Foundation, a plant-based diet not only helps prevent kidney disease, if you have kidney disease, a plant-based diet can help slow the progression. From the American Institute for Cancer Research, not only does a plant-based diet significantly reduce your risk of many forms of cancer, if you have cancer, a plant-based diet can help fight it. From the American Heart Association, the more meat you eat, the more risk you have of heart disease, many forms of cancer, having a stroke, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes. The less meat you eat, the less risk you have of all of those very common and very deadly diseases. And guess what? As a vegan, you can still eat burgers, you can still eat bacon, you can still eat cheese, you can still eat ice cream. Just choose the plant-based cheese, the plant-based ice cream, the plant-based bacon, the plant-based chicken. Just about anything and everything can be veganized. Right here on this app in the search box, put vegan recipes in the search box. You will come across endless vegan recipes. Right here on TikTok, hundreds of TikTokers who post vegan recipes. Give some of those people a follow and you will see how easy it is to be vegan and how delicious vegan food is. Visit happycow.net and you will find vegan and vegan-friendly restaurants in any city. Grocery stores are filled with vegan options. All fruits, vegetables, beans, grains, legumes, nuts, seeds are vegan. Most pasta is vegan. Most cereal is vegan. There's all kinds of plant-based burgers, plant-based chicken, plant-based seafood, plant-based cheeses, plant-based ice cream. Anything and everything just about comes in a vegan option. And this person asks, what's my opinion on vegetarians? Vegetarians are, causing about the same amount of harm as meat eaters. I mean, the egg industry and the dairy industry basically are the meat industry. Those dairy cows, when they can no longer produce enough milk to be profitable, which happens at about 5 years of age, when those cows can live over 20 years, they are sent to slaughter. That's typically where your ground beef comes from. Ground beef is ground up dead dairy cows. And all of the male calves born on those dairy farms are slaughtered, typically for veal. But even if they're raised for beef, beef cattle are slaughtered between 12 to 22 months of age, when again, they can live over 20 years. So yeah, the dairy industry is the meat industry. The egg industry is the meat industry, because they do the same thing with the egg-laying hens. When those egg-laying hens can no longer produce enough eggs to be profitable, they are sent to slaughter and turned into pet food or chicken soup. So yeah, you need to go vegan, not vegetarian, not pescatarian. You need to go vegan. And it's very, very easy to be vegan. And it's literally the best thing you can do for your own health even. Not just for the health of the animals, but even for your own health. Especially if you're sticking to a mostly whole foods, plant-based diet. And it's the best thing you can do to help save the planet. Well, you have to eat something. You have to eat something. So yeah, just for us humans being on this earth, yes, we are all causing some harm to the planet. But vegans are causing the least amount of harm. If I was to switch to eating animal products, I would instantly be causing at least 10 times more harm by not being vegan. But the whole reason why I'm vegan is because I'm against stabbing innocent creatures in their throats. Like, if you understand what Brian Koberger did to those 4 college students is an evil, heinous act, like, why would you turn around and, like, literally pay someone every fucking few hours to stab animals to death? Because that's what's happening for you to consume animal products. They literally stab these animals in their throats to sever their jugular vein before they bleed them out to butcher them. Or they slash their throat to sever their jugular vein to bleed them out before they butcher them. So yeah, my food choices cause a lot less deforestation. My food choices causes a lot less water resources to be used up. My food choices don't require an innocent creature to be stabbed in their throat. My food choices don't require wild animals to be annihilated. Like, your food choices are literally causing the 6th mass extinction. And there are 1 billion people right at this very moment who are starving because food they could be eating is being used to fatten livestock. So privileged people can eat meat and dairy products. Third world countries do sell their grains to the animal agriculture industry while their own people starve. Yeah, hunting is just as bad as serial killing. You know, I'm not a speciesist. I'm not a human supremacist. I see no difference because there is no difference. Like, going out in the woods and gunning down an animal is the same evil, violent act as going in the woods and gunning down a human. I'm not a speciesist. I'm not a human supremacist. I see no difference because there is no difference. Maybe legally there's a difference, but morally there's no difference. And actually, the animals have more of a right to be here. Humans are, in fact, the only species that is literally destroying the planet. Not the animals. Humans are destroying the planet. And it's mainly due to their eating habits of eating animal flesh and animal secretions. Because it's very resource intensive. Uses up a lot of land, a lot of water resources, causes a lot of waste. Well, those cows and pigs and chickens should not be bred into existence. They're being force bred into existence. They're forcibly masturbating male animals to collect their semen, to force it into the vaginas of unconsenting female animals, to force them to reproduce. I mean, the very first thing that needs to happen, at the very least, should be that so-called artificial insemination process should be absolutely banned right now. That needs to happen, like, right now. It is not artificial. It's called artificial insemination, yes, but it's absolutely not artificial insemination. It is sexual assault, and it is bestiality. Animals are murdering animals 24/7. Why don't the animals think about the children? What the fuck? You're supposed to be a civilized human being, not a wild animal. And most land animals, in case you don't know, are herbivores. Panda bears, koala bears, hippos, rhinos, elephants, zebras, deer, elk. So, like, you know, you want to base your behavior off of a tiger. You want to base your behavior off of a lion. But you're nothing like a tiger. You're nothing like a lion. Do you actually get the urge to kill animals when you get hungry? No. Do you find roadkill appetizing? Yeah, because humans are more like vultures in the way they like to eat their flesh, from an animal that was already dead and rotting. But you don't even find roadkill appetizing. You're not a true meat eater. You're supposed to be a civilized human being. So start acting like a civilized human being. This world will not be truly civilized until slaughterhouses are banned. To this so-called artificial insemination process is banned. It's sexual abuse. How can you think it's okay to sexually abuse an animal so you can eat their babies? That's crazy, not me. That's crazy. For you to be here defending animal abuse, and not just animal abuse, the sexual abuse of animals. Yeah, just stop making excuses. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. No, being vegan isn't going to make you sick. Now, maybe if you were allergic to soy, some people do have a soy allergy. All you have to do is just not consume soy. Soy is just one plant-based food out of literally tens of thousands of plant-based food options. Being vegan did not make you sick. Not eating animal flesh did not make you sick. Again, maybe you have a soy allergy, or maybe you are gluten intolerant. You can very easily be vegan and not consume soy products and not even consume gluten. Because all fruits, all vegetables are soy-free and gluten-free. All nuts and seeds are gluten-free and soy-free. All beans and legumes are gluten-free, and all of them except the soybean is soy-free. And even grains, all grains are soy-free, but even some grains are gluten-free, like quinoa, buckwheat, teff, rice, corn. So you can very easily be vegan and, not consume gluten, not consume soy if you have gluten intolerance and an allergy to soy. So yeah, if you were truly eating a plant-based diet and you didn't feel well, that was probably because, you have a soy allergy and or are gluten intolerant. So all you need to do is just eliminate those allergens from your diet. And it's very easy to do so. I'm not spreading misinformation. It is a fact. A lot of people do have gluten intolerance. A lot of people have a soy allergy. And I don't like it when people lie and they spread misinformation saying, oh, I can't be vegan because I tried to be vegan and I was sick the whole time. That's a lie. That's a lie. Again, I'm clearing it up by letting people know. Well, if you were sick, if you were seriously sick, which I think a lot of people are just trolls and they lie. But I do know, again, like I said, people do have soy allergies. I mean, I remember this one article that I read by this so-called ex-vegan. Oh, I try to be vegan, but I just have a severe soy allergy, so I can't be vegan. Again, you can very easily be vegan. Just do not consume soy if you're motherfucking allergic to it. There's still tens of thousands of other plant-based food options. Stop trying to justify violence against innocent creatures. This is pissing me off. These animals do not deserve to be stabbed in their fucking throat. Because you want to sit here and lie. Oh, I can't be vegan because it made me sick. No, you can't be vegan because you're too fucking lazy. These animals do not deserve a knife in their throat. Just like those 4 college students. They did not deserve a knife in their throat. And you agree with that, don't you? I hope so. But for some reason, you can't agree with me on the fact that these animals also do not deserve a knife in their throat. On that, you disagree. But on the 4 college students, oh, I absolutely agree with you. They didn't deserve a knife in their throat. But no, when I get hungry, oh, just fucking knife all those animals to death. I don't care, because my taste buds are more important than their existence. And then you call me the crazy one. I'm not the one paying people to stab innocent creatures in their throats over my food preferences, just so I could sit down for 5 minutes and stuff my fucking face with artery-clogging carcinogenic crap. Humans are animals, in case you don't know. Humans are animals, so I absolutely will compare the two. Don't fucking think that an animal deserves a knife in their throat over your food preferences. That's what's fucked up. Not that me saying, stabbing a human in their throat is pretty much the same thing as stabbing an animal. Now, I understand, legally, legally there's a difference. But I don't think there should be. I think you should be thrown in fucking jail just the same. If you stab an animal in their throat, you should be thrown in jail. But that's sick of you. To tell me, oh, don't compare humans to animals. While you literally pay people to sexually assault an animal, stab their baby in the throat, just so you can eat their flesh. And all the while, you're literally increasing your risk of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, causing another pandemic, and destroying the planet in the process.